You can't hide what's happening to you, Donald, or what you're doing to this country and the world. There's a reason why you have the lowest approval in modern presidential history. There's a reason why we, the people, are absolutely livid at what you and your regime are doing as your plans blow up each and every day. You can try to hide your hand as it rots away. You can try to hide the issues with your regime as it collapses, but no one is buying it. Let's dig into it, folks. Just want to remind you, make sure you all hit subscribe right now. The MeidasTouch YouTube channel is on its way to 6 million subscribers. You saw earlier this week, the Trump regime was attacking us on Trump's social media platform. Fox has been attacking us. We need your help. Subscribe. You may think you're subscribed to this YouTube channel because the algorithm sends this to you, but make sure you actually are subscribed for sure. So let's get into it. Of course, you saw Donald Trump at that disastrous press conference we covered, trying to cover up his hand as it rots away, but there's no covering up what's happening to our economy right now. Earlier in the morning, we learned that 32 to 35,000 jobs were lost in the private sector in November, according to the latest ADP data. There was an expectation on Wall Street that 40,000 jobs would be created. But you see, the greedy corporations viewed job losses as a good thing for them because they go, that must mean the Fed is going to lower interest rates. So screw the people. You see the perversion of Trump and his oligarch buds. They just want to see people get screwed because they think that's an opportunity for them to feast on the people, to make money while screwing over the people. Now, as the economy is doing horrible in the real world where most Americans live, what is Trump focused on? You know, they're building a golden ballroom after tearing down the East Wing. You know that Trump's talking about building a massive arch. And he always talks about how he's building new tiles in the Lincoln bedroom and this or that. Well, a new thing he did yesterday was that the State Department renamed the former Institute of Peace to now call it the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace because they say he's the greatest peacemaker. Now, obviously, this is despicable and disgusting, but you should add to the fact that a federal judge ruled that the Trump regime's takeover of the Institute of Peace was unlawful. Now, the Supreme Court temporarily stayed or paused a district court ruling saying Trump's firing of all of the board members from the Institute of Peace was unlawful. The Supreme Court said, pause, let's just give it time. Let's see it work its way through trial. So what the State Department did during that pause was they renamed the whole institute to have Donald Trump's name on it, an actual traitor and someone who, in my opinion, has been doing the bidding of Russia by laundering Russians' plan to destroy Ukraine and destroy NATO. So what else is Donald Trump doing as he's festering in his own rot? By the way, quick reminder, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let me tell you what Donald Trump is doing. Pardoning criminals like himself. Let's not forget, and we don't mince words here on the MeidasTouch Network, Trump's a felon. Trump's a fraud. Trump's a criminal. Trump is a sexual abuser. Trump bankrupts things. He is a crap businessman for most of his life. He bankrupted things. A destroyer, not a builder. So who do you think his buds are? Who does he want to help out? Other frauds, other sexual abusers, other con artists. The people he hangs out with, right? The people in the Epstein files. That's who his friends are. That's who he hung out with his entire life. Just take a look at this graph right here. It just shows the amount of pardons that presidents gave their entire term. So George W. Bush, his entire term, 2 terms, 189 pardons. Biden, 2 terms, 212 pardons. Trump's first administration, 144 pardons. Biden, 80 pardons. Donald Trump so far, 1,500 pardons. Now, earlier in this week, you know that he pardoned one of the biggest narco terrorists in the world, Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who said, get those drugs up the gringo's nose and let's kill him. By the way, Donald Trump's own personal lawyer turned DOJ top official turned Court of Appeals judge Emil Bove was the prosecutor who prosecuted Juan Orlando Hernandez and his brother. But Trump goes, oh, it was a Biden woke, deep state, unfair thing. No, Juan Orlando Hernandez was working with El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel. They brought in 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, street value tens of billions of dollars, killing tens of thousands of Americans. And Trump's like, yeah, I'm going to pardon that guy. You know about that one, though, already, right? But how about this? Trump also pardoned a guy named David Gentile in the past 48 hours, a massive Ponzi schemer, a $1.6 billion scheme, this fake private equity company this guy David Gentile created, where he lured in all of these individual investors. 10,000 regular folks were defrauded by this. Because it's not like he even defrauded like rich corporations. He defrauded regular folks out of $1,000, $10,000, $20,000, their life savings, a $1.6 billion scheme. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison. This con artist, this Ponzi schemer, this freaking felon like Trump, David Gentile. Trump commuted his sentence, so he's now just serving 7 days and he's released. Trump also pardoned a former top entertainment executive named Tim Lewicki from the Oakview Group, who Donald Trump's own regime prosecuted for antitrust crimes. They were prosecuting this guy, and Trump goes, full pardon to this guy. Do you see what they're doing here? And while Trump does that, who does he go after? He goes, all of these Somalian people are frauds. The Somalis in general are frauds. You know how freaking racist that is to say all of Somalia and every Somalian person is a fraud, and Ilhan Omar should go back to her country, and the horrific things that Trump and his regime say. It is so utterly despicable, while he actually pardons the biggest drug dealers and the biggest frauds. And he himself is a fraud. He himself is a sexual abuser who was found liable civilly in court for sexual abuse. He's a bankrupter. So while Trump is doing that, there's chaos right now in the House of Representatives. Chaos right now. Republican anger erupts as MAGA Mike Johnson frets about the future of the party, and people are pissed at MAGA Mike. So Nancy Mace, MAGA Republican Nancy Mace, she goes, I think I'm going to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing. I think I'm going to leave. We don't know if she's going to resign yet, but word on the street is Nancy Mace wants to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene did. Meanwhile, Elise Stefanik, another MAGA Republican, is attacking MAGA Mike Johnson and says if there was a vote for the Speaker of the House tomorrow, MAGA Mike would lose. And she realizes, Elise Stefanik does, she ain't going to win governor of New York like she thought she was. Remember, she was pushed out as the United Nations ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to the UN by Donald Trump. And then she was going to run for governor, but she's doing horribly there. So I think she's positioning herself to try to be the next leader and oust MAGA Mike. So you've got that going on. And I think there's a lot of MAGAs who are freaked out about those results from Tennessee's 7th, that special election, which saw a 14-point shift away from the Republicans. Granted, Matt Van Epp still won that seat in Tennessee's 7th congressional district, true, but it was a 14-point shift towards the Democratic side in a plus 22 Trump district. By the way, people are getting nervous on MAGA side when state regime media known as Fox starts bringing out those photos of Sydney Sweeney and they make up that the left is mad at Sydney Sweeney. You know when they do cleavage shots of Sydney Sweeney and make up that the left is mad, that they're panicking. That's like they're, oh, look the other way, Sydney Sweeney. So freaking weird, by the way. Also, talk about freaking weird and freaking dangerous and crimes against humanity. Daily Mail got a great exclusive about Kristi Noem and ICE. That the ICE hiring process has been horrific. Illiterate individuals, violent misfits, criminals, white supremacists. Don't you wonder when all's said and done how many Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, and other white nationalists are part of ICE? I bet you it comprises a vast majority of these people. But yeah, this Daily Mail piece goes into all of the illiterate people, all of the people who have criminal records, people who can't pass a basic physical, people who are incredibly out of shape. It was a good expose that they did right there. So today, as you know, the official report is being released from the independent watchdog inside the Secretary of Defense regarding Pete Hegseth's signal chats. So what the finding is pretty obvious and clear, that Pete Hegseth's conduct in engaging on these signal chats operationally put the American military in jeopardy, compromised security. And basically what Pete Hegseth is saying when he was involved in those signal chats where he was talking about the war plans with Yemen, Pete Hegseth's entire defense was, look, I have original classification authority. So no matter what I send to anybody, like if I were to send nuclear codes to Xi Jinping, because I get to decide what's classified or not, Pete Hegseth's argument is I can basically retroactively via mental telepathy declassify things after the fact, right? Retroactive declassification. Anything I do can't be wrong because I'm the Secretary of Defense. And by the way, just think about this. So yesterday, when lawmakers were given the information about what Pete Hegseth put on the signal chat and what he was engaged in, they had to do it in a SCIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility, because the stuff was classified. The documents and information was all marked secret, no foreign, NOFOR, meaning no one, even in foreign entities, can look at it. It was so highly classified. That's the stuff that Hegseth was putting in text message chats to his wife and to his buds and to this group signal chat. It should also be noted that Hegseth refused to sit down for an interview with the independent watchdog, and also Pete Hegseth refused to turn over his phone. So that should tell you a lot right there. But Hegseth responds, no classified information, total exoneration, case closed. When Donald Trump's like, didn't know the woman, no sex with her, no clue, no affair. It didn't happen. It's just the constant lying and gaslighting. And we know all of those people are absolute liars. We also got a report from the Wall Street Journal. Remember how we reported here a while back in October 16th, where the 4-star Admiral Alvin Halsey, who was in charge of Southcom, Southern Command, that's the area where these war crimes were taking place, how he was pushed out, how he resigned then. Well, now the Wall Street Journal reporting talks about how it was basically a de facto ouster, where Alvin Halsey said, I'm not committing these war crimes. And then Hegseth said, yes, you are. You follow my orders, Halsey. And if you don't follow my orders, you must leave. No matter what I say, it's legal because I say so, is what Hegseth told the 4-star Admiral. He goes, or resign. And so the 4-star Admiral, Alvin Halsey, resigned. I want to talk about this as well. I just think it's important because, as I mentioned before, you go back through Trump's history, his kids' history, they're losers. Loser family, born with a lot of money because Fred left him a lot of money. But Trump has run casinos into the ground, companies into the ground, and we see why. I mean, he runs things horribly, erratically, emotionally. He's a horrible leader, and that's why he's bankrupted things over and over again. Then he just sues everybody. He screws over workers. Horrible human being, horrible business person. But look, just take a look at some of the companies that he and his family have been involved in just recently, right? So you had Eric Trump. He's involved in this company that trades on NASDAQ called American Bitcoin. And after the lockup period ended, meaning when the insiders can put their shares back on an open market, it's called the lockup period. This thing is down like 75% since the lockup period ended, or some crazy number like that. 26-minute, 51% wipeout that deepened the Trump's crypto woes. And this was a company that Eric Trump was touting. He was on NASDAQ. Woo, American Bitcoin. It's a company that takes the name Bitcoin, but they call themselves American Bitcoin. Well, that company's doing crap, at least in my opinion, giving you this is my opinion based on this result. And then you have Alt5 Sigma. NASDAQ tells Trump crypto partner Alt5 Sigma and no longer meets the listing requirements after a missed report. So you've got that there. And then Trump Media, Right now, it's crashed about 50% in the past 6 months and way more than that, over the past year. You've got the Trump meme coin crashing, the Melania meme coin crashing. That's really where that's where we are right now. We'll keep you posted every step of the way here on the MeidasTouch Network. Oh, remember, hit subscribe, help us get to 6 million. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.